Hi, Adab, Sat Sri Akal. This is Nishi Mishra. I'm the head outreach at Amity University, Noida campus. Today, I'm super delighted to welcome Mr. Charles here on our campus at Amity University, Noida. He's the head of the counseling team, Pathway School, Gurgaon. Welcome, Mr. Charles. How are you doing?
Thank you, Nishi. I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me. Thank you for welcoming me. Super happy to be sitting here in front of you and have this discussion. I remember the days that we met and how it was difficult to connect. And today we are sitting face to face. And I'm sure we are going to enjoy these few minutes together.
I still remember, Charles, that you denied the meeting that I requested you. So we are starting our podcast here on a very happy and healthy note.
Sure.
So today we are here for our podcast series, which is series number 3 that we have, and a very important discussion that we are going to have here with Charles. Now, when the board examination of the students are coming to an end, the most important decision and the most important question that would be lingering in the mind of the students and parents would be, where do we apply? How do we apply? And what is the kind of the process that we have to go through? Are we late or are we early to apply to a particular university? Right? And to answer all of these questions and to demystify the myths that we all have been actually thinking about in the application process, I thought that Charles would be the right person.
Thank you.
So Charles,
Yes.
this is my personal question to you, right?
Yes.
And before we start this, I really want to ask you a question. Way back when I was doing my undergraduation process, we did not have application process as in such,
Yes.
right? And there were not many colleges that we could refer to,
Yeah.
right? So whatever our parents said, whatever our teachers guided, we actually went ahead with those particular colleges, right?
Yeah.
But now we have a set structure. We have an application process to apply to a particular university or a college. Whether you talk about India, whether you talk about foreign university, everything rolls down to a stipulated admissions process.
Sure.
I want to really ask from you, as a career counselor, how are these admissions processes helping students in terms of understanding a particular university of their choice? Are they really even helpful, or is the guidance provided by the counselor helping the student?
Thank you for the question, first of all. And I believe that matches the theme of this podcast, demystifying the application process. Like you said, back in our days, we didn't have any career counselor, right? We went with whatever was told to us. We trusted enough teachers, parents, and we succeeded somehow in our life and reach out where we are. Today, the process has changed, as you mentioned, for the simple reason that back in our time, we had very less information. Now, there is overflow of information. So when you look at the two aspects, less information with overflow of information, that overflow information needs to be somehow chiseled, needs to be somehow, I will say, polished in such a way that only what is needed for the student is taken care of. And that is where those processes come into the picture. Actually, there is no process as such. Yes, it is just the way that it is portrayed. It is still straightforward. It is still the same document that we provided back then. We still provide the same document. Yes, it is more digitalized. It is more, I will say, process-oriented, but it has not really changed. It's just that we have to remove, using Indian terminology, all the masalas. Then we have a core of a meal, right?
Yeah.
So that is where the difference comes into the picture.
I got your point. You are saying that we have to have healthy stipulated amount of food rather than, going for a buffet.
Exactly. And to rebound on one thing that you mentioned, this is where we come into the picture, guidance and college counselors. Before, there was not that. Our role is to make sure that the student get the right information for that particular university, right? Because it's not a prescription. It's not like, okay, I am going to follow ABC and that ABC will work for all my colleges, right? Only your guidance and college counselor at school will be able to tell you that, look, for University A, these are the steps. For University B, these are the steps. It's not a prescription that you take blindly on all applications.
Got it. Thanks, Charles. I think Charles has very beautifully given us an example that way back then, when we were studying, we were just looking at the colleges to apply. Yeah. There was just one set of information that was available, and we were going ahead and processing that with. But now, with so much of information available on internet, with the peers, with the teachers, with the counselors, it's important and it's imperative that the counselors play a vital role in simulating the process of applying to a particular university. And I think that makes more sense. Coming down to next question, since we have talked about 2 ages.
Yeah.
You have worked abroad as well. You have worked for Indian school as well. How do you see the transition coming out in the application process? Is the both different, or do you see that it's the similar application process but with different taglines or different nitty-gritties are also involved in that?
I would say a bit of both. Yes, a bit of both, and let me expound on that. When you look at Indian institution, now their application process or processes have become more or less as foreign university for quite a few of them. So the checking in and putting that application is not different as putting a foreign application. Whereas when you are abroad, it is very streamlined, right? You know by class 10 where I'm going to go. By class 11, actually your application is already processed, and 12, you just walk in, right? Which is not the case here. Now, why it's not the case is just because, unfortunately, we always start late. In your opening remarks, you mentioned about the board exam coming to an end and where are we going to apply, what are we going to do? And that is a crack of the matter. We always start late.
True.
A application process is not in grade 12. A application process is not after my board exam. After I write it, it starts 2-3 years before. And until and unless we have understood that or inculcate that to the parent mindset, we will always be in this rush, this stress. And I see parent, I see student around all gloomy because they haven't slept and because they have to write so many essays, they have to fill so many forms. But if it's staggered, it's actually very easy and it's fun actually to do them.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I think you have very nicely said that application process, it's a fun process, but a very good point that Mr. Charles has mentioned here is that timely application process in a staggered form is absolutely essential.
Yep.
And I think most of the parents have started thinking about it. Some haven't because they wait for the board examination result and all those things happen. But some parents have now become very vigilant.
Yep.
Even I've seen students that they start their application process, start preparing for that. So I think counseling plays a vital role in the same. One piece of advice that you would also want to give it to the students, but you know how this generation students are, right? They will also refer to their peers, they would also refer to some other seniors who have gone to other universities without even knowing the situation of their parents and looking at their own houses. what is that one piece of advice that you want to give to them in terms of choosing a right college for them and going through an application process? So, for example, there are 20 students from your class that apply to US, UK, and Singapore. And there would be 5 students who are just doing it for the sake of their friendship, right? What is that one piece of advice that you want to give it to them?
First, I want to come back to what we were discussing earlier. I'm not meaning that going to a top prestigious university is wrong. I don't mean that at all. I say it's not for everyone. That's what I mean. It's not for everyone. Now, when it comes to the application, like you said, in a class of 20, different destination, different colleges, how do you maneuver all that? And how do you put your application? It's very simple, actually. It is not as complicated, as technical, as sophisticated that we might think. It's very simple. The very first thing that every single student should do is to get to know themselves, awareness of self. Who am I? Who is Charles? What Charles can do? What are his aptitude? What Charles like? Interests. What Charles like doing without himself noticing that he is doing that. When I know all this information, I know for sure that I'm a speaker, I'm somebody who likes to interact with people, I'm somebody who get other people to cling into me easily, and so on and so forth. That determines the kind of field that I'm going to go to. Am I somebody who takes everything at home and dismantle them without knowing why I'm dismantling them? Could be engineering, could be architecture, it could be a lot of things. So who am I as a person? When I get to know who I am as a person, automatically the field is revealed to you. You know which field I'm going to go to. Now, here comes the character. What kind of person I am? Am I extrovert? Am I introvert? Can I connect easily with people? Can I walk in a corner by myself, or I need people around me? And so on and so forth. That will determine the kind of institution that I'm going to. Big, small, medium. Can I manage myself alone? If the answer is yes, foreign institution is yours. Be honest with yourself. Truth in the inner being. It is the student and himself. Be honest. If you can't, tell your parent, I am not ready to go. Do an undergrad in India and go for your higher studies. It is not a mandate that because I went to an international curriculum, I need to go abroad. It is not a mandate. If you are not ready, don't go. If you are ready, then make the step, and then everything will follow. Now, when it comes to the application, and that is where majority of Indian application fall short. Indian students try to copy what others are doing, rather than expressing exactly the who am I, my own story. Because of peer pressure, because of parent pressure, because of auntie pressure, uncle pressure, grandparent pressure, or whatever pressure, right? So we try to portray more than we are. No, the admission officer, and you are one of them, you just want to know the story of that child.
Sure.
How did you get that idea to go study X, Y, Z? Where that idea originated from? What has he done about it? What has he learned? How he has trained himself, prepared himself for higher studies. It's a narrative. And as long as that narrative is genuine, I believe you'll grant him admission.
Of course.
But most of the narrative, as I said, is a prescription. You take them, you know exactly from where it's going to start, it's going to end. It is no more personalized. So my only advice that I'm going to give is be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else that you are not. Be yourself. Tell your story. It is not about quantity, it's about depth of what you have done. It could be one activity. It could be you just giving. I'll give you an example. Last year I had a student who is right now in one of the UCs in US. Initially she was quite concerned because she doesn't have that amount of extracurricular activities. And she went to study for psychology. But there is one thing that she used to do from grade 7. She's a very good pianist. And she always goes and play in old age houses. And her play always gives that relief, that coolness to the people. And she's been doing that since grade 7. And when she came, sir, I don't have anything to show. I said, yes, you do have. Mm-hmm. You just don't know how to portray it. You do have. So we took everything that she has done, including the Christmas event, whatever the Diwali function that she did. And that was her essay. One activity. Not 10,000, not fancy, one activity. She was herself. She presented matters as she felt, why she did it, why she kept going there, what she gained out of it, what she gave out. And that was it. Be yourself. Be your own. That's my advice.
Yes, true.
The student who is genuine, even if the academic part is not up to the grade, we're always curious to know what he's going to do next. Not the one who comes and want to impress. It has nothing to do with impression. It has to come naturally. I want to do this. I should know why I want to do it. It's as simple as that. Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to study that? If it's impossible for you to tell the admission officer, being in an essay or during an interview, why you want to study that, I believe there is an issue somewhere.
Yeah. True. Thank you, Charles. I think you had, hit the nail in the coffin and mentioned all points right. That for the application process, there is no if, buts, prescriptions, sigma, beta, any mathematical combinations or permutations required. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Charles, for this.
Thank you.
Coming down to our topic of podcast, when we concluded with the topic that we had for our podcast series today, demystifying the college applications, just be yourself, write, express the way you are, the way you want the world should see you. Mm-hmm. So it's just the collective knowledge of who you are. Mm-hmm. Many a times, I have personally seen that students fail to express themselves of what they have done throughout their life. Mm-hmm. It's imperative that we actually, in our application process, project who we are, how we are, and if we want to thrive, we have to support and bring out the true nature of a student. Thank you.
Thank you.